Okay, welcome to our Finance Committee meeting on February 1st. This is Wendy Thomas, and I am Chair of the Finance Committee. We'll go around and ask each person to introduce himself.
Gail Chloe is the business administrator.
Joe.
Oh, Joe Messina, Council Rock Educators Association.
Robert Berger, superintendent.
Kylie Josie, School Board.
Bob McGee, resident.
Nancy Carroll, resident.
Matt Pedersen, IT director. Carl Hogan, independent auditor.
Bob Reinhardt, Director of Business Administration.
And Denise Brooks just joined us. Okay, go ahead, I'm going to turn it over to Bob.
Okay. This evening we got quite a long agenda here, but the first part we're going to start off with a review of the audited financial statements. I think, as you've seen, a lot of the information that's here has been consistent with what I've been updating you with there. We do have Carl Hogan from BBD. He is the manager of our audit partner.
Partner training.
Okay. Junior partner or whatever. But anyway, he's going to go over the financial statements very quickly, and because they're quite interesting if you really want to read them, but you won't be able to get a real oversight in a short period of time. So Carl, go ahead.
My little thing.
Yes. Go ahead.
Just like to announce that Jerry Graff has joined us.
Go ahead. I think we'll go
Go ahead.
ahead.
I have here. There's my first line in this year. I tried to spice up my presentation a little bit. So everybody thought it was the only time anybody paid attention to the first thing on the front. So the first and the most important thing on the audit, like Bob said, there's no surprises here tonight, and I know Bob has gone over these numbers with you, exhaustively in terms of where you stood for the year ended June 30th, 2017. Basically, you're halfway through the next year. I mean, I was supposed to be here last month, but because of the snow, I didn't make it here. And you're already working on your budget for 2018, 2019. So once again, this is just kind of putting a ribbon on 2017 and where you are at that point in time. So basically, the most important part of your audit report is page 1 and 2, and this is your independent auditor's report. And basically what this is stating is that the numbers presented to us by management for the year ended June 30th, 2017 were fairly presented. So I don't even think, maybe there might have been some journal entries that came in after the fact because payable might have came in while we were doing the audit. We start the audit in August, or receivable that need to be recorded. But other than that, all those entries that were provided to us by management, we didn't find anything that would need to be of a material adjustment to the books. Next slide. The next slide is a synopsis of page number 47. And in terms of the board, this is like your report card for the year. Like this is what you budgeted at the beginning of the year. And this is how you came in for the end of the year. And you have the variances up on the right-hand side there. So as you can see, the year ended June 30th, 2017, you have budgeted revenues of $222 million. You came in at $226 million for a positive variance of almost $4 million. So if you look down below, we have a little explanation there. There's a couple reasons for this budgeted amount being over budget. So if you look at your local source revenues, you were over $2.8 million more than budget, primarily to positive variance collection for your real estate taxes. And there's income taxes, so there's a breakout between the two right there, $2 million over in earned income taxes and 1.2 in real estate taxes.
And I just want to stop real quick. Understand 1.2, although that's a big number, think about it as that is our real estate, which is about, I think, $141 million. So we're not off by much. And think if we're short by that same amount. So we're very within reasonable amounts. There's under 1%. The earned income tax is the thing that I told you jumped up unbelievably over 11% last year. It went from like, I think 16.3 million all the way to 18.3 million. And that was unexpected. So we will have movement in the 2018-19 year. I do not believe by any means we should go all the way up to the 18.3, because I don't know if that's a one-year movement or not. So I just wanted to make sure.
And we audited 20 million, or 20 school districts. And, each one of our school districts had a positive variance that had earned income taxes. And, once again, I also state that if this is a number that you obviously want to be conservative with, like Bob said, you don't want to budget the $18.3 million, get caught with your pants down and have to make it up somewhere else. So, earned income taxes is great, but at the same time, you need to be conservative when you're budgeting. State source revenues were over budget not over budget. They were
Actual given higher than budget.
Yeah, by $1.1 million. And there's two reasons because of this. One is because you had an increase in your basic education and plan on funding that came in. So when you adopted your budget, if you remember, there were a lot of things in flux at the state in terms of plan on funding and also with your basic education. So you didn't want to include those revenues in your budget and not get approved in the state budget. So those were revenues that came in after the fact, after you passed your budget. And, when you were going through the budget process last year, I'm sure you went through that. Then we look at the expenditures. Expenditures were budgeted at $226 million. We came in at $223 million for a positive variance of $3 million. When you're looking at $225 million, that's really good. And if you look at the biggest variances that you had, they were related to under expending for salaries and wages, electricity, contracted maintenance services, and there was a big variance related to a delay in the purchase of some Chromebooks within your equipment, 700 object function. So then down below, you see you have an amount for actual amounts for other financing sources uses, and there was nothing budgeted. This is the $3.3 million that was transferred over to your capital reserve fund. So you have a board policy that only permits you to have 5% of unspent fund balance. And anything above the 5% fund balance, you transfer over to the capital reserve. So that $3.3 million represents above and beyond the 5% of your unassigned fund balance, which obviously isn't budgeted, but good in terms of being able to put some extra money away for the capital projects that are going on. So during the budgeting process, you had $4.3 million was budgeted to be used. You actually only used $940,000, so you have a positive variance of $3.5 million, or positive variance of $3.5 million. So at the beginning of the year, you had $25 million of fund balance. You ended the year with $24 million.
Again, when you look at, it looks like a big number, the variance of $3.5 million, but when you look at the total budget actual, those are within under 2%. And it's just that our budget's so big that $3 million is just a result of our revenues coming in a little higher than budgeted and our expenditures coming in a little lower. I believe that's an acceptable variance, and it concerns me because if that ever turns, and it could turn, we could lose $4 million that quickly, and it's hard to catch back up. So I just want to make sure you know and understand how we created that variance. It's from the budget for the revenues and expenditures, and we're not off by much. In fact, I put this against almost any budget.
I agree with the audit last school district from a percentage point.
Sorry.
You go with that. So, said positive in terms of, that's where you want to be a little bit on the positive side, not a little bit on the negative side. So.
And that's us doing some questions.
The next slide. So of that $24 million of fund balance I just talked about, there are different commitments and unassigned amounts of fund balance. So during once you figure out what your final numbers are, Bob comes to the board and you approve different commitments to your fund balance to remain within that 5% within your board policy. So for the year ended June 30th, 2017, $4.2 million of your fund balance of $24 million was used to balance your 17-18 budget. You still have $1.6 million for employee retirement rate stabilization. These are amounts that are there to smooth in the increases in PSERS. Future education initiatives, $2.7 million. And then you have your self-insured health insurance commitment of $3.8 million. And this is a reserve that's being set in place because self-insurance is so volatile and you can very easily have a bad year that you may have to dip into that.
These numbers are exactly what you've heard in August and October, using the same numbers. It's just now they're audited. It's really.
And then you have your unassigned balance of $11.7 million, which represents 5% of your 17-18 expenditure budget. PD allows you to have 8%, but your fund balance policy requires 5%. Next slide. The next slide I'm going to talk about is the capital projects fund, just because of the fact that there's so much activity going. It actually takes a large chunk of our audit to go through a lot of this. So your capital projects fund in your financial statements is actually composed of two separate funds within the internal financial statements. So you have the capital reserve fund, which is made up of those transfers over from the general fund, and then you have your capital projects fund, which represents your bond money. So as you can see, your balance in the capital reserve fund actually increased a little bit from 7.6 to 7.9. So the net change is made up of money that was coming in from the general fund plus any kind of summer project expenditures that might have happened during 16-17. And then the capital projects fund, there was $73.9 million. You had a negative change of $26 million as you were going through the construction for the Holland and Uniontown middle schools. And then your ending balance in your capital projects fund, the remaining bond fund money was $47.8 million. So when you take your $8 million and your $47.8, there's approximately $55.8 million in capital funds to be spent on the various projects.
And I want to clarify this. You see that $8 million you hear me talk about, we have a little over $4 million left in that fund. That is because we had a lot of summer projects that were occurring in July and August. We didn't spend those monies yet, but I was projecting to say, once we spend the monies for these past summer projects, this number will be down to about $4 million, 4.2, I think it was. Same with here, this is all bond money that we have in, and this is going to be already encumbered and used for the middle schools. As you know, we borrowed $43 million, and I think we need to add another $13 million on that to be able to spend for all the middle school projects. That number can change based on what contingencies we use, what type of change orders we get, either up or down. So that number will change, but understand that we just borrowed $13 million to add to that so we can finish the middle school projects off. So that none of these, well, about $4 million was available. We already told Doug you can spend the $4 million. So this money really is encumbered. So don't look at this as saying, oh, we have all this to spend. We don't. We've already used it.
So basically that 47.8 is basically going towards the middle school projects, and there's some commitment footnotes in here. I think we're on that. I think we probably a little bit more money.
Yes.
Right, the next slide. So during the year, your school usually puts out 2 to 3 bond issues a year. During the current year, there were 2 bond issues. The district issued series of 2017A, the amount of $21.5 million. And we funded a bunch of series of different general obligation bonds, partially, fully, etc. And at the end of the day, that's going to save you $800,000 in future debt service payments. So that was a no-brainer there to do that. And then also the district issued general obligation bond series of 2017 for $9.3 million, which is being used to finance renovation projects, as we just discussed, and it's included in that 47. Whatever is left is included in that $47 million we just set up.
That $792,000 is a low number compared to what we were saving on refinancings before. This year, everything's underwater, so we don't have any refinancings right now. Interest rates are going up, and all the bonds that we can borrow now are in that area of really low interest rates. So we're not going to see the big savings that we were seeing before.
The next slide is an update on your PSERS net pension liability. I mean, I know we had the discussion in the previous years of the net pension liability. This net pension liability, you got to understand, has been determined based upon a number actuarial valuation based upon June 30th, 2016, that's being reported in your 17 financial statements because PSERS can't get the number out fast enough for the 17-year put in these financial statements. So if you think about it, 16 or 15, 16 in terms of the market and everything wasn't that hot, and as a result, we're seeing the net pension liability for all the different school districts actually increased about 15% across the board. So in the case of Council Rock School District, your proportionate share of the PSERS net pension liability went up almost $50 million to $409 million. So if you think about it, when we started this process of putting this liability on your books, it started at about 300% of your pension payroll. Now it's almost up to 400% of your pension payroll. So I'm hoping and anticipating with the better year in the economy for 16, 17, that we might see things level off maybe a little bit. Maybe a good indicator of that is the fact that that 2018-2019 rate that just got certified, it was originally projected at 34%, now it's only at 33.43%.
Only.
Oh, only. Yeah, so, but we're not seeing huge chunks of 5, 8%, 10%. Now we're,
And we're also not seeing rates.
They spread out the cost over 10 years, and even though this was a good year, this is the last year we didn't see that.
They also, it's also a 0.25 rate. It was 2.25% rate. It was 18 years ago.
Yeah, that is true. But the other thing I don't love about this PSERS actuarial liability, they were using a discount rate of almost 7.5%, which is totally unrealistic, which is totally throwing all the assumptions off. And hence, I think they were doing a catch up this year for the rate that they were using this year. Yeah, so.
I want to just make sure you know this is nothing to do with our budgeting. This is a long-term liability where only the current portion of what we pay, which is this year coming up, is 33.43% of salaries. So that's all we deal with in the general fund. This other thing is just to say, where are we on a long-term basis? If we had to pay it off today, that's the number we have to crack. And it's a huge number. And I think it's about, I don't know, 40-some billion dollars statewide. So that's our portion of the 40-some billion dollars statewide that the state taxpayers owe for PSERS. So
I have to tell you, it's just a moment of commentary. That 33.43 in corporate environment, when we used to do total fully loaded costs for employees, which was pension, benefit, everything else, I think we were like 27%, and maybe then it would go up to maybe fully loaded was 35%, maybe. This is 33.43 plus. Go ahead.
No, just
you're just giving me a keep going.
Yeah, just.
It's 33.43% plus.
Social Security's number
FICA.
7.65.
So we're up to 40 plus
0.5% for workers' comp, 0.25% for unemployment comp. Then you have health benefits that at $100,000, that's another 20%.
Right. So it's, so we're looking at for every dollar that's in their payroll that says salary, there's another 55 cents that says other stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
That graph's on page 10.
Hmm?
The percentages is on page 10.
Oh.
And the last important thing to board members is that they may not understand the financial statements. They just know what kind of opinion do we have. We had a clean audit opinion. We want to know what the fund balance is for the general fund and for our different funds. And the last thing is, did we have any findings? And in terms of Council Rock, we didn't have any findings. I mean, we have a lot of discussions during your hey, coding, everything like that, but there's nothing in terms of that would rise to the level that we would need to report in your audit report. Also, we do a single audit during our, you don't receive much in terms of federal awards, but you do receive more than $750,000. And as in years past, it's your biggest program by far is your IDEA special education cluster program. We test that on an annual basis for compliance, report on that to the federal clearinghouse. And we had no issues with that. And then finally, there are 3 big reporting deadlines that management needs to meet. The AFR, which is the annual financial report, needs to be filed with PDE by October 31st, which was done. Financial statements need to be posted to the EMA website within 180 days. And that was done, if you remember, a couple of years ago. There was a lot of pushback from SEC that this wasn't done. So I think now the past 5-6 years that's been met. Also, finally, there's a single audit that needs to be filed with the Federal Audit Clearinghouse by 9 months of year end, which is March 31st, and we've done that already as well. So, like I said, I mean, I'm here in February, but all this stuff is already taken care of. I would have been here last month if it wasn't for the snow. And, it was a smooth audit process. And, the biggest headache in the previous years was the capital assets. We got that taken care of. that's all running real smooth now.
So what's your threshold for the capital assets?
And we're doing $25,000.
And then for group assets, 100,000, something like that.
Yeah, so previously there was a spreadsheet with just a bunch of crap, or, just stuff that you could not.
Go ahead.
So,
We think that,
Technology, bunch of crap.
so it's like, just,
Technical
it
term.
was just the stuff that.
Committed resources against proposal or something.
So what we do is, it's impossible for the business office to track that when you're not in a corporate environment. But what is being done is that information technology is tracking all that stuff, and that's very important. That because those are critical asset inventory stuff, that's stuff that can just walk away. So IT is doing that, but I don't think that's a function of the financial statements tracking it there at 2 levels. So it's important that we note that that is being tracked at a building level and IT level, but in terms of this level, we don't need to do that. So now we have it at a level, so if there's a disposal, you can write it off or anything like that. So it's working well now. Not that we're 2 years in.
are there any questions for Carl?
Questions or public comment, because we would like to let him go home and be with his family.
I'll be sleeping by the time I get home.
Welcome to our world.
I just want to thank Carl for his work. I've told you this before. These are the best financial statements I've seen, better than the financial statements I put out when I was in public accounting. Footnotes are clean. So I just want to thank him for that. And I have to thank Gail Chloe. You hear me talk about it all the time, but she really is doing the work for this stuff. She's really putting stuff together. And I want to make sure that she's recognized in regard to this.
Thank you.
You do hear me, and you probably think that I'm the one that does all the work. I don't do all the work. I understand stuff, but
He's the nervous one.
Yeah, I was like, too calm. Actually, everybody else she does, she's too calm. It's good.
How many years have you done this for us now in a row?
6 years.
So
Yes.
let's talk about
I
that.
know.
Sorry, love you dearly. You do, help me understand, who is the audit team within your company? Is it you or?
You and some, no, I actually do a lot of the work myself too as well. So I have 2 other people that did a lot of the work with me out here.
So we change every
3 years.
3 years. So,
Except for this
but
time.
he's been here 6, so we don't change every 3 years. And Bob and I talked about it. So we're going to bring it up to the committee.
I will do whatever you want. I'd like him included in the bid. I'm very happy with his work, and I will tell you that we're not in trouble not getting the stuff to Emma in time, which everyone doesn't know what Emma is. But if we issue bond issues, we have to have GAAP financial statements reported to this site for all our bondholders to be able to look at it within 180 days of our year end. In the past, we didn't always get it there. And what happened is you're in technical default in your bond issues if that occurs. At one point, the SEC was saying that they're coming out to start auditing us. And if you don't have them in time, you could be cited. Actually, the underwriters could become cited for it. And if you start getting cited and the underwriters are going to get written up on that, you're not going to have underwriters wanting to underwrite your bonds. It's more important than ever, and I am comfortable that it gets done. If we change, I'm fine with that because I'm not going to tell you, you shouldn't do that. I will tell you it's going to put some stress on us for the first couple of years. And I will tell you, you're not going to get the financial statements that I see here. And I appreciate these financial statements because of how well done they are. That's
So-
my spiel, but I'm not going to go any
Let's,
further.
let's say it's 8:30 and we have a long agenda, and let's put it on next
Okay.
month's agenda, and I'm gonna ask Robert, can we go first next month? Can finance go first? Oh,
Sure.
okay.
The only thing I would ask between now and the next month's agenda.
It's just because we'll probably still have redistricting, and we'll still have public comment, and then we'll be here at 9 o'clock next month, and we just have too many things, so.
The only thing I would ask in preparation for talking about this next month, I appreciate your comfort with them. I always look, I look at the Enron thing, not Enron, Bernie Madoff, and it was like, because nobody else was looking. So my question is to BBD, what safeguards could you put in that would help to show, and is there a way you could partner? We heard the people before talk about something, we've used the term peer review before. Is there a capacity to, what safeguards could you put in if you had someone who was nervous? Don't answer it here,
Okay, that's
but in speaking to Robert about, is there a different team? Is there a different office of your organization? Is there some way that we can get a little bit of distance from the group that has been doing it? Because I like that it's clean. I'd like to continue that, but I'd also like a fresh set of eyes because somebody's going to pick up something that maybe the guys have been doing it haven't.
I think we had this discussion last time, but we were in the middle of the capital asset change. And I think we do have a separate team that I could,
Put it forward to Bob between now and our next meeting.
I gotta tell you, I'm just giving my spiel.
I hear you.
Other than that, you guys want me to do it, I'm gonna do it, and we're gonna work as hard as we can to do it. But I am a CPA too, and I've been in the business a long time, and I look at these financial statements,
And
the footnotes are,
I respect that, Robert, but I'm trying to find this way to satisfy the two demands.
Yep.
Yours, which is the quality of the output, and ours as a fiduciary for the community to say that we had a
I
second
love
set.
when other school districts have fiduciary responsibilities, but that's my comment. That's all.
okay, thanks, Carl.
Thank you so much,
very
thank you.
much.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks for hanging in there.
Yeah, no problem. Last week, I've been behind the instruction rules. Oh, there's my.
Was my final card?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Pencil me in on the calendar and August.
Okay, okay. In them out.
Yes.
Two of the guys that really like seeing this weren't here tonight, Mark and Andy.
Rest is
So I will spend some time with them on this. But this is my 5-year forecast. And I'm going to explain it up front and talk to you and allow you to see where we are now, and we're going to go forward. Okay? The format of this should be very familiar to you. And I will tell you, as we talk about this, and you say, well, what did you do this? Or I see Joe over there looking, probably say, oh, what did he put in there for salaries and stuff like this, because we're negotiating and all that. There's nothing to the level that I put in there that you're gonna be able to say, Bob made a conscious effort. You're gonna see I put 1.5 in there, except for the current year, because we're closing Richboro Middle School, so there's savings in there for this year. So I'm right up front, that's what's in there, and that is for everybody. So that could be high, low, or anything, but it is a number, and that's what I've done, so it's out in the open, you understand it. Also want to tell you tonight that we did do the borrowing for $43 million, or everyone always asks the interest rate. And understand this is a 22-year borrowing. Many of the finances we did before were a lot shorter, 8-year, 10-year, or something like that. So we're going a lot farther out on the yield curve, okay? And interest rates have gone up a little. But our true interest calculation, which is a one number, and it goes between all the maturities, and it takes in consideration the bond discount you pay, the issuance costs, and everything else, but it is 3.37%. So overall, if we paid the bonds off through the 22 years, we would pay an interest rate of about 3.37%. That is not a rate that you can take on the number and do calculations with. That's just how you compare a one bid from another bid from the underwriters. Okay, it's more complex than you just taking that number and doing that. I will tell you that this issue was a little different than past issues. We did have 4, 5, 6, 7 groups, underwriters that were interested in this. Overall, we had 26 bids. This is an auction bid. So for 15 minutes at 11 o'clock on the 24th, the bid starts online, and it's a secure site, so only some people can look at it, and people start bidding. Don't think they start bidding at 11:01. They wait till 11:12 or something like that, and they throw their first bid in. And there were 26 bids. Most of them didn't bid a whole lot of times, except for Jan and Montgomery Scott, and they're the ones that win a lot of our bids. They like our paper, as people say. And they came in second place. Raymond James, who doesn't get a lot of bond issues, came first place. Raymond James beat them by 11 basis points. So that's 0.11%. And you may say, that doesn't sound that big. That's a huge difference. That's why people didn't go back and forth. They were so far away from the winning bidder, they stopped even trying to bid. PFM at one point was a little concerned about that because it was so far of a distance, but they must have a big buyer for this, and that's why they stuck it in. They only did one bid, so that was their only bid. It's not like they bid down further, so they bid it so low and took it, and that's what happened.
Wonder who owns our school district.
Yeah, well,
They're a
yeah.
good company, right?
So if you want more on that, I will tell you, I could go into a lot more. I want you to know that originally, I think we had about $3.9 million of fund balance we used because of, remember our debt service in our general fund is about $17.9 million. We keep it right there. Well, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, we would actually be spending more money than the $17.9 million. And we were expecting it to be about 3.9 of fund balance that we would use because those years we were going to spend more than what our budget number is. That number is now 2.7. So when we looked at it, and you guys got the numbers, you know, in December and in January, we did better than what was in the budget. Now, PFM would never give you numbers so tight, so maybe we did about where we thought we were going to do, but all this tax reform and everything else is still causing the market to be in an upheaval. And understand that when we're out in the yield curve, those bonds right now are 22-year bonds, and we're out in the yield curve because they're long maturities. In several years, they're not going to be 22-year bonds anymore, they're going to be 10-year bonds. And at that point, we might be able to refinance them and get some good savings then, but it's not going to be right away. Okay? I wanted to go over that so you know these new numbers are included in my projections here. So as we talk about my projections or my forecasts, they're in there. Major revenue assumptions, I'm just going to go over this quickly. Everything I show in here includes a 2.4% tax increase. I'm not showing you numbers that there's some good numbers and some not so good numbers, but expect that this is for the tax increase. This isn't saying we don't have to raise taxes and we're in good shape. Other income, a 1% increase. That's across the board, I just use 1%. Expenditure assumptions, Richboro Middle School staff savings, I've reduced it some from what we originally thought, and we can go over those numbers in more detail. I didn't prepare that for tonight. PSERS projected employer contributions are included. So you saw Carl show those projected contribution rates. I use those same rates for this. Lump sum wage increase, that's what I discussed with Joe, saying, I put this number in there. Don't ask me for all kinds of fancy calculations how I did it. It's really a lump sum that I believe we can live within. 7.5% increase in health costs. Before I was putting $1.5 million in there. 7.5% I think would be a good rate if you continue to go that way. I don't know where you think healthcare rates are right now. But we've experienced some decent amounts unless we negotiate. But that's all that's in these projections. And I want to say online that these projection documents will be posted tomorrow morning to look at the detail. I can't put these detailed numbers in front of you on the screen tonight. I'm just putting summary information. So this you can look at tomorrow, anyone that's watching this. Okay. This is the second or third year I've done this. I think I've skipped a year. But if you look at it, as Carl said, our fund balance is $24 million. When I looked at this 2 years ago, my best case was 25.8 million. My mean is 22.3 million, and our worst case scenario is 16.8 million. There's a lot of variables in here. Just think, every time we move money to the capital reserve, this fund balance will go down. So if we, instead of moving $3 million one year, move $5 million, this number would be down to around here. So there's variables in management's decision and your decisions on making this number what it is, but we've done quite well. I will tell you, as you look at this, all the numbers, the historical numbers I've used to determine where I think the fund balance is going to be, has been in economic expansion. It hasn't been in 2007. I didn't have any of those years in when our revenues went down when there was the recession. So the numbers I have in here are showing economic expansion. So you need to look at that and say, wow. So are you saying, Bob, that if we have a downflow in the economy again, these numbers might change? Yeah, they could change drastically. So I just want to make sure you know that. Okay. Okay. Now, you're going to see there's 2 pages here. The page that looks like this starts with our budget, this year's budget, and then I make adjustments to this year's budget. Okay? Go back. So this is the page that I started with. Okay? And if you look at the detailed budget each year, budget, the status, budget status, budget status, that's where I'd say the budget is. But we all know that over these past years, our actual came in different than the budget. So now I'm trying to determine what should I be able to expect in that. So they're based on my historic variances, which you saw a sheet about that a little bit. Capital transfers from the general fund will be affected by future budget fund balances. So you're going to see when I get into this, you're going to see, well, Bob, you said we could do $4 billion this year in this budget scenario or fund balance scenario, but here you're saying we can't move any more money over there because our fund balance is too low. So I'm using $15 million and saying, if our fund balance is down $15 million, guys, we're not moving money over anymore over to the capital reserve. So I'm going to go over all that kind of stuff. And then projections include debt services associated with borrowings for the following: the completion of the middle school projects, Wrightstown and Rolling Hills Elementary. I do not have anything in here moving forward. If we're going to do Soul Finestone or anything like that, those decisions haven't been made. So if we make them in here, it's going to make our fund balance change. Okay? When we make those decisions, but I didn't put them in there because if I start putting that in there, people are going to think I'm putting too many variables in there. So just know when we make those decisions, we are going to have to deal with it. Okay. Now, started in 2012, and if you look at our revenues, our revenues only came in 0.44% higher than the budget. Expenditures came in 2.23 below. So all I did was take the average, the mean, and you will see now, taking this detail page, you will see it summarized here. So the mean, which is saying that I'm taking these budget numbers, as I put in here, each adjusted budget, and for revenues, I'm taking that and I'm increasing those revenues by 1.07%. And what would that do to our fund balance if that occurs? Do you understand what I'm saying? Well, I'm the same with the expenditures, saying the expenditures on average were under by 1.67%. So what would that happen? So let's go back to the detail page. In 2017-18, you will see our budget right now is $229 million of revenues. You see that? First column, revenues under 2017-18. Our expenditures are $233 million. You see that? Next to that, the mean forecast, and this is the only place I've done this, I have taken the $229 million and I've increased that by 1.07%. So you see that number of 231? So that I'm saying if our revenues come in 1.07% higher than our budget, which historically that's the mean, that's what would happen. And the expenditures, I did the same thing. where I reduced it by 1.67%. So our expenditures, I'm saying our expenditures will only be 231 million. I take the difference, and our operations for that year, the mean operation would be increasing our fund balance by $423,000 at the end of the year that we're in now. See that? Then I'm saying, if we move $3 million into the capital reserve, our fund balance will actually go down to 21,510,000. So if you want to follow what I just explained to you, on the first fund balance sheet where it says mean, it's just summary numbers that you can follow it through here. Does everyone understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So now if we look at it, the mean, our fund balance would move from 21 million to the end to be 19 million. But I want to highlight here, and I want you guys to check off. Do you see where the first year I say from operations transfer to capital reserve $3 million? Do you see that on this sheet?
Yeah.
Look at it after that. In 2018, I said I'm moving $4 million.
Yeah.
4 million, 4 million, 4 million, 4 million. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's the mean. Let's go down to the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario, I just took the two worst years we had 0.44% revenues were under, and or over, and our expenditures were under by 1.1%. So if that would happen, look at the difference in our fund balance. At the end of this year, our fund balance would be 20,460,000, and we moved $3 million.
You tested that, right?
Yep, well, I kept that $3 million because I was going to $4 million with our fund balance dropping like that. The next year, I only moved out $3 million, and it's down to 17.5 million. The next year, I moved $3 million out, and it's 15 million. So now I'm only moving small pieces out all the way through, and it's ends up 15 million. So that's what I'm saying. If this is the worst time, and we get hit both the worst time, our fund balance can drop greatly, and to a point where I'm saying we can't move any more money over to the capital reserve. You guys understand that? Okay, now let's look at the best case scenario, and those are the 1.36 and the reduction of 2.24 in expenditures. Now these numbers look great. We're up to 32 million, and we're moving $4 million a year over to the capital reserve. So that's where I'm showing you where we could be, and every year you're going to see where we come in. I do believe that our expenditures are going to be tighter in upcoming years, where we're going to be spending up to closer to zero.
I was going to say, it's two things. One is the expenditures, at some point, there's fat. I mean, you're at some point.
I hope it's fat.
I know, because
there's not much fat.
Because otherwise, that's my point. Is you keep trimming every year. We trim
Yes.
fat, we trim fat, we trim fat, and eventually, we have really lean corned beef, and the next slice is beef.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out. It's not a never-ending supply of being able to trim. The other question I had for you on this number, I didn't understand this. On the whatever the hell you call this one, the one that says close rate growth at the top. So I'm looking at, you have a total budgetary number. You have a number here, which down on expenditures this year 233,333. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Next year, your budget status, you went to 238. What's your incremental value between those? Because then you're discounting from that to get your.
Yes.
But what's the incremental? How do you establish the increment between 233 and 238, and then later 244? Because what's your
Yep.
and are you
compounding
compounding it? Are you compounding?
What I'm reading into something that I really want to point out to you guys too. What I've done, and you will see for healthcare. You see the healthcare, the 1.4 million.
Okay. No, but yeah, let's keep.
Okay,
Yeah.
when you look
Yeah,
higher up in
for a year.
the detailed expenditures in that column, you see where I've increased at 1.4 million?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yep.
sorry, for the change. policy.
That is 7.5% increase in the budget previously,
Okay.
less what I expect to spend less because we're reducing some staff because of the Richboro closing. All the others are based on 7.5%. The other things that have occurred here, I want to show you is debt service. Look at debt service, and there's a lump sum $1 million this coming year that I have there. Do you remember when we talked about it earlier that we have this $100 million of projects that we want to get going and moving on going forward? That's Soul Fine Zones, I think it's the other 5 schools. Since we have savings in this coming year budget, I'm saying, guys, I want to set us up for that and move $1 million into the budget that we're going to look at this year to increase our debt service so that we can afford these projects going forward. If we don't do it this year, when we have some savings, it's going to cause tax increases in the future. I'm throwing that out there. I don't know where the budget's going to be actually this year, but this would be the year that I'd want to move more money into debt service because we could use some of the savings from the closing of Richboro to do that. If you guys say, I'd rather reduce taxes or spend it on something else, that's the decision. I'm putting it out there saying, guys, as the business manager, and if we're committed to all these projects, which I think we need to be for getting other elementary schools done, this is a way to start preparing for that. I showed numbers that I will tell you that as we go out 5-6 years, those numbers, who knows what the interest rate environment's going to be. And interest rates moving up 1% is a lot bigger move than anything in our budget.
Just 2 points. One, at a concept level, you're right, because one of the problems is if you don't raise the taxes, put the money away, what happens is you get behind, because the next time when you need it, you can't get to it. So that's one thing. Last question on your estimate numbers. So as you're growing this number across, because you have the budget status each year,
Yep.
Is that building on the budget status, or is that building, so each time that's building on a previous budget status for your increase in rate, not on your mean forecast?
No, correct.
Okay, so these are all, so truthfully, if you came in on your mean forecast over time, it would retard the growth that you're showing. Because in most cases, your mean forecast is less, about 4 million less.
Completely understand what you're saying. I'm showing this history here,
Right.
and our budgets are still going up the way I'm showing them.
Okay.
Well, I feel like the last time we looked at this, it was much more doom and gloom. We were down to like $10 million on our worst case
We've got
scenario.
40 staff members.
I'm not saying we did, the projections made us
Yep.
be,
Yes,
change
more
up,
money.
but this is a little better scenario as far as compared to last time we looked at this. But next year when we look at it, it could be completely different. My only point.
We
Just
dealt with
one
the issues when we had to deal with the
It's
issues.
just one.
Yep.
Well, that was, you're right, this board made tough decisions
Yes.
at that time and worked with a long-term vision.
Yes.
Right, that's
It's
what,
just one of many tools and many
Yes.
factors we have to take into account. Good one.
agreed.
Okay.
You good with this?
Anybody questions on it? Okay.
Well, yeah, I talked about, go ahead. Okay, actually, I am just summarizing this for the community out there to look at. It's what's on the papers that we just discussed. I probably should have moved to these sheets now. Go to the next.
Yeah.
These are the same things, okay?
All right.
Are we out of that now? Okay? Community, anyone watching this, again, these detailed sheets are on the web tomorrow morning, along with the other,
If we have questions, if we do get questions, do we have an email address or should we just have them send it to? Okay, so people have questions, because this is kind of stuff people need to sit and look at. We'll send them to Bob Reinhardt at PSERS.
This is board meeting stuff now, and I just want to go over this. And this is me asking permission and also taking some small agenda items off future finance committee meetings. These are the 2018-19 annual bids. This is the list of bids. Every year we get them. Just for you to see the materiality of it, this is what they were last year. I expect they're going to be about the same or go up. And they're not going up because we're spending more money. I think we're going up because we're beating people over the head about bidding everything. So we're trying to bid as much as we can. So I expect these numbers to go up, but it's not because we are spending more money. It's because we're bidding more things. I guess is the best way to put it. I'm just asking you, can I bring these directly to a board meeting, or do you want me to bring them here first? You guys will look at the list here. Well, you've looked at the list. Well, there's a lot. Well, don't you remember the Marines?
So here's good. My perspective is publish them to the board. If the numbers are out there now, publish them to the board now, put them in a spot.
They're not done yet.
Right.
That's what I'm just trying to do.
My point is that make them aware, the structure we've now decided for the board meetings is going to be, there'll be the finance committee report, she'll summarize what happens in the finance committee, and then we'll go through the items that we approved here, or that we were agreeable to here, because we don't approve things in these meetings. And if someone needs to pull something out, they'll communicate it. I'll survey the board for anybody who wants to pull something out, but most of that stuff's going to be put through consent for finance. There may be finance discussion ones. If there's something that someone wants to. She's in charge. Wendy will be in charge of the finance portion of the meeting.
Are you telling me you want an agenda item on finance for each one of these before bringing it? Okay, good. I got that.
And the other thing that happens is, so Mary Ann's new. So she's not here tonight, but she's new. Maybe we could reach out to her. The rest of us have seen them for years. We know what we want to look for. So for me to open a bid document, look at the things that I want to read or that are important to me, is different than in my first year where it was all brand new to me. So that would be my only condition. She's the only one. All the rest of us have been looking at them for years. If we have one when we need to be pulled out, we can ask for it ahead of time.
Okay.
We don't need it.
Right.
Good, thank you. This is miscellaneous athletic equipment. You're going to see this on the bid, and I have that.
It's just such routine business, yeah.
This is, I just want to say that it's $26,000, and I will tell you that everyone is trying to bid more. These items might have been things that might have gotten through in past years because they were emergency, because someone didn't bid them and all that. What I've told people now is figure out what you need and add it all to a bid. So we're doing miscellaneous bid things. That's going to be.
Just to summarize what I hear you saying is, at the end of the year, the line items that we spend on, and the budgetary line items, are the same or better than they were, because the things that go into them, the mouth guards, the weights, that, you're getting more of them put on the competitive bidding versus buying them as small quantity sub-bid pricing.
Yes.
So you're doing
Well,
things.
there are people that will say they can get better prices if they don't bid it. I hear that every day. But yes. The other thing that I wanted to make clear on is there's a bid out there right now to outfit our middle schools. It costs about, the estimate I have is about $44,304. And that would come out of capital projects. The high schools, each of them, want to replace some old equipment, and that's about $170,000.
Together? I'm sorry.
Yeah, each of them together, it's together, yes.
Okay.
And I have detailed books here to show me what we're getting. I don't know where the prices are gonna come in, but I want to give you guys a heads up so that you're not just thinking, oh, you never told us about this. So this is just a heads up. This isn't gonna be approved this month or anything. I just want to make sure you know that this is coming. This is going to come out of operating funds, and if they have funds available at the end of the, at the end of this year, I'm going to try to get some at the end of this year and some next year to try to reduce next year's commitment.
In the same way that band instruments, it's a question, it's not a, band instruments, we often buy new band instruments by their sousaphone at the high school. And then a junior high gets a sousaphone because there used to be a cascade effect. what are they not, what's happening to the stuff that they're not, they're getting 170, some of that's replacement stuff, this stuff's worn out. Or it's, so what's happening to the, are we disposing of the stuff that they're not using? What are we doing?
My understanding is that there are companies looking at it to take it out of our hands, that would there be some value that we would dispose it with the company.
My guess at the high school is, it's the weight room stuff, is that,
I've-
it doesn't wear out, it just isn't as up to date,
And-
it isn't
and-
as good for the kids' balance, like all that kind of stuff.
Oh, and that was my question, which was, do we tier that down to the junior highs? Do we tier, is it, if it's not appropriate for the high school, now there could be two schools of thought.
Oh.
If it's not appropriate for the high school, it shouldn't be with the junior high. Or if the high school kids have a different level of expectation and equipment and exceed, they're lifting 250 pounds on a squat, the kid in junior high is doing 120 pounds.
I think the athletic directors are the best ones.
Well, that's the question. So that's the assurance I'm looking for, is
Yeah.
that before we sell it outside,
Used at a lower level.
that we advertise it within our district to our
Yeah.
other
Send the
schools.
athletic directors to do
Yeah.
that.
Well, they're very much involved in this. I've met with them, I think, twice on this, so they're much involved in specs and everything else, so, yeah. And I gotta tell you, it's not just athletic, it is phys ed.
No, they use
Well,
the weight room for that.
Sure, it's other things too.
It's what?
I'm sure it's other things too.
Oh, yes,
Science stuff, you eventually
Yeah.
replace some things.
okay. Programs and services budget, we can go into the detail of the budget. Ultimately, we are paying almost $1,600 less than last year.
Okay.
And there it is.
1,600.
$1,600.
Keep going.
Okay. ACE Grant Audits, I sent an email out, and they are the $2 million grants that we got for the middle schools for the league.
Oh, yeah.
We have all the money, and we're required to have an audit done within 120 days of receiving all the grants. You remember I sent out an email saying I'm going to have BBD do it for $2,000 each. I signed that, the audits are in and everything. I want to make sure you know that. I believe I have it on the board agenda to be approved by you guys, unless you think that just put it through for
We
the.
don't even need to. It's a sub-bid number.
Okay, I'm good with that. I'm not going to put that.
It's just it's in the check register. It's sub-bid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good.
And this
Just you, that's
is,
late night walk. Yeah.
Right now it comes out another 40,000 pages or something.
no, this is the resolution opposing the Senate Bill 2. Senate Bill 2, in a nutshell, is something that came out of I think, the Education Committee, and it's there to be voted on. And it would establish a education savings account where parents could, sounds to me, go to the treasurer's, the PA treasurer's office and get an account set up. Money would be held with the treasurer, and they can use that for private school education. There's a lot of different type of expenses. It would be coming out from us of the average state funding per pupil, and it would be deducted from our basic ed subsidy. Or for special education, it would be calculated based on the way, as it's specified in special education funding form. I think that's at 14%, 16%, things like that. But I am somewhat concerned about receive the average state funding per pupil. I hope that's within our district, because if it isn't in our district, we're so lowly, our funding is so low. If we're getting the state average taken out of our subsidy, it's going to be much more than what we receive. So it could have a big proportionate reduction in our state subsidy if this would occur. I will tell you, I've got at least 20 forward emails to me with resolutions from other school districts that have already passed this resolution opposing Senate Bill 2. TE was one of them that I saw that, I was thinking, wow,
True definitely.
which is an affluent district that is doing it. I am concerned when I see the average state funding per pupil. You may say, well, Bob, that's not gonna affect us. I gotta tell you, we have a lot of children going to private schools, and if they can get free money now, why wouldn't they get free money?
Also, this allows money to be spent in religious schools, parochial
Yes.
schools. It also does not have any language that controls where these kids go. So the protections of denying people, students access to certain schools by disability or gender or any other things. There's nothing in there to protect and control how these funds are used. Plus, there's language in there that some people are interpreting it that this could be used money for tutors, for books. So it's not good for public education.
Has anything like this been passed in another state?
Another state?
Yeah, just because we think there'd be a federal challenge, you know, constitutionally.
That's it. I don't know, that's a good question.
Okay.
I'm gonna say no, but I feel like we'd know.
It
Right, I
was,
feel
it was
like one of the
Texas.
articles would have said that
Yeah.
this is done, I haven't seen anything referenced, it's been done in another state.
Yeah,
And
from-
the other thing I have is that none of these schools are held up to the same standards, so they don't have to meet
At all.
any, yeah, so.
And
I think we put this on the agenda for the whole board, not just on the consent, because I think it's a resolution, I want to make a statement, so I think we should just put it on the agenda unless anybody objects.
The other thing, this
We need to
thing,
do a presentation on this. Do I need to get really
no,
more knowledgeable in this? I can, but I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know
let's,
if there's numbers.
let me
out
ask,
there.
do you, is there anybody, there used to be Jack Brady, he used to come out with sort of,
That's
I know,
Rebecca Malcolm.
I mean, it'd be Rebecca, but
just see if she's available and just,
Really?
I just,
We need it.
I don't know,
We all understood it rather quickly.
you're right, part of it, here's my point. It's great we passed a resolution. We're 9 people. My whole question was, how do you get a presentation that actually lights a little bit of a fire among the 79,000 people we represent?
Well, why
That's
can't
my
we
question.
ask
I think
them
the
back
key
up
point-
for a statement and a link? But we can make that.
right, and also, I mean, the key points about, taking money away from public education. I mean, I probably have in some of the IU documents, some bullet points that even I could pull, but, not use, the key things that are motivating us to support it are easy to outline. I don't
That's
think you
fine.
have to go into any major.
That's all, I'm just trying to see how we can motivate, because that's how do you get a well-headed people, they all run to us.
There's a group that's supporting this that they could go to, even the PSBA or.
The PSBA's been issuing quite a few
Yeah.
little things. I mean, I don't know that it's been like, bullets, it's been more like narrative, but we could.
But they could
hold
go
it.
and read.
Yeah, you-
They could go read.
right, and a link to it,
Somebody in the
right.
public wants to go and read more about it.
Okay.
Right.
I only have 2 questions about this. My only 2 questions is, I'm glad if we put this forward as a board vote, and I hope it is unanimous. I wonder if anyone would object to, sometimes on resolutions, people have objected to having it, they wanted to sign individually. We've had situations where we wanted to sign individual board members rather than being just the board president or vice president or secretary, because we wanted to show that we had a plurality, a unanimity.
I think we deal with it. I mean, I think if it's from us and it's signed by you, it's fine. If somebody objects, the board table wants.
So all I ask is, would you do me a favor? Just do this up 2 ways. No, just draw up the way you have it, and also with blanks, lines or anything not named, because the person who doesn't want to sign it isn't going to sign it. If someone didn't want to. I can't imagine everybody will, but I will
I'm
leave
gonna
it
be
open.
absent on the February 15th meeting.
you can sign it in advance.
Or you can say, here, what you'd like to vote to be, and we'll have it
I
recorded.
support the resolution.
A comment.
We're
Can
not,
we go back to the page where it had a computer amount of money and what is, I was on the technology committee.
I
And
lost control.
this is the year we're putting the Chromebooks in the middle school. And that is, what?
It's with the Chrome, you talking about the auditor's report, the comments?
I'm talking about a number that said computers on,
Yeah, it was-
it was very top thing.
He didn't have a number there. He just said that was one of the reasons. Yeah.
And There you go, wait a minute.
On the
No,
bids,
keep going.
on the bids. Wait, she just said there it was on the bids.
It's computer supplies.
Is that 20?
$24,000 is it's like ink and
Well,
ribbons.
that's not enough money for middle school computers.
No,
Not computers.
That's on the, computer equipment, that's just
Okay,
different
that's
supplies
just
that
the
we
whole-
do.
Oh,
Yeah, consumables.
That could be thumb drives, what Jerry always mentions.
These are meant to be little teeny things, not big things.
I knew it wasn't enough money, that's why.
Oh.
The other thing is, then, does that money come out of the budget, like the equipment budget for the school, because it's a new school?
that,
The Chromebooks we're putting in at the middle schools, which have to be a lot.
her question is
Yeah,
fitting into,
It's a part of the
fitting into
project.
It's
furniture.
not part of that, it's part of part of my,
It's about what?
part of my operating budget.
I don't, okay, so it's part of your operating budget and not part of the capital budget of the school.
Some reasons for that, Nancy, is this equipment is 4 or 5 year equipment, and we're gonna be borrowing it, using money that's borrowed for 20 years or whatever. Why would you want to finance something backwards like that?
And the other reason is because this equipment is being dovetailed with equipment
Yeah.
that's already at these facilities. These are not, this is not a new building that's getting, yes, it gets new furniture because some of the furniture, but it's not.
But it's way
All
more
the-
computers than we have. Way more.
Yes.
I hope we're changing the academics on it.
Right.
Well, remember, we now have what we call the corrects, the educational technology standards. We have grade by grade,
Yeah.
so that's accompanying it, and we have the instructional pitches, 2 at the elementary level this year, and 2 at the middle school level next year.
Thank you. It wasn't on the
Anybody
agenda.
else
It wasn't
have a
on the
comment?
agenda.
I was yelling at
No.
you.
Okay. Any board comments?
Bob, I want to tell you, we were chatting the other day and yeah, I was reflecting upon our confidence in the business office over the years. It's never been as high as it is at this point, with you in place. I've been through a number of guys in your role, and you've done a lot to make our job as board members easier. You both are. You have done a lot to make our job easier. You give us a lot more confidence in what we're looking at from numbers, and that goes a long way with us, so thank you.
I really appreciate that, Jerry. I really do, thank you. I am passionate.
Don't we know?
Okay, finance adjourned.
I'd like to say, I'm glad you look at things every 3 years, and I wish we would do the same for other things like architects.